Good afternoon or evening, depending on which side of the pond you're on, and welcome to a very special episode of Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy, and today myself, Darren Woodhead, and Arran Ayres are joined by none other than cricket legend David Bumble Lloyd, but he's not here to talk about cricket with us today. Oh no, that's not the show that we are. He is going to talk to us today about none other than the mighty Reds of Accrington Stanley. Welcome to the show, David.
Well, I'm really looking forward to it. There's me and my dog. I've got a little dog who's down by my feet. My wife will be coming in any minute from work, so you might hear a bit of barking.
Right on. I've got my dog here, so we're a dog-friendly show, and Aaron's got a bird over there, so we're all about that. Now coming on to the show, first we definitely wanted to just give a little bit of an introduction to our non-Accrington audience because, of course, you were a former member of the international cricket team of England. You coached in the 90s, cricket commentator, author. You do a little bit about everything, but you also actually played for Accrington Stanley. It was in the 1970s, correct?
Late 60s really, but mid 60s. But I mean, Darren will probably know that cricket's my business. It's what I do for a living. But football is my sport, and football is my passion. I'll go watching football anywhere. But my team, quite rightly, I was born and bred in Accrington, and so I am Accrington Stanley through and through.
Right. On that note, David. So just as we kicking off, I'm just interested to know about your first insight into Accrington Stanley. So the old original Accrington Stanley at Peel Park. Now I know you were born and bred in that area of the town as well. So what are your first memories of the club?
Well, very vivid memories in that the old ground Peel Park. I lived in a street very, very close to Peel Park. I went to Peel Park School. All my kids have gone there. My parents went there. So I lived in Water Street, and in Avenue Parade, which was the next sort of street, which was quite nice, there was a really big house, and as the players, Stanley players, would mainly come down from Scotland, and they would be billeted in this house. And my Auntie Edith was you can call her caretaker. She did the washing, the cleaning, the this, the that. And so I had an instant in to the Accrington Stanley team, and this is sort of late 50s, mid 50s, when the team was a really good team under a manager called Walter Galbraith, and the majority of the players were Scottish. And I always remember we were really pleased to sign a Scottish B international called Jimmy Mulkerrin. But we were a good side then. Of course, it's well documented that we went out of the league in '62 because we couldn't pay the bills.
Going back to that era, there's only one player I want to mention, and without being too disrespectful to you, David, there's only so many people now in Accrington who remember these players just due to age. My dad's one of them, and a guy who they all talk about in that era is George Stewart. Can you just tell me about George and the legendary status he holds in the town?
Well, I mean, there's a number of players like George Stewart. All this that's going on now, very modern, about footballers heading the ball. And young children now are told that they mustn't head the ball. And this was a very heavy ball back in the day, in the 50s and early 60s. George Stewart was a brilliant, marauding centre forward. We had another at a similar sort of time, and that would be Les Cocker, who went on to great things for England and with Don Revie at Leeds, with Walter Winterbottom with England. And they were typical centre forwards where, they were brilliant in the air. George Stewart was one of these centre forwards that hung in the air. It was breathtaking to watch him. He wasn't a big, tall, sort of Tony Haley type of centre forward, but he had that night, probably a bit like Dennis Law, that when he got up there, he seemed to hang, and his neck muscles, he was brilliant, terrific to watch.
Now, one thing before we start talking a little bit more about your career and, of course, with Accrington Stanley, the current team. One thing that I had to ask you about is something that I actually had to look up, which was the origin of your nickname. And being an American, I was not at all familiar with the Bumbleys, and I just had to ask: was this nickname Bumble? Was it something that you immediately embraced, or as time went on, you just kind of said, "Oh, okay, I'll go along with it"?
Give up. I'll just give up.
Yeah, the latter. It was given to me in the changing room. I mean, they are brilliant players. The changing rooms, your rooms, it's your sanctuary for the team. But they can be cruel places at times, and my Lancashire teammates thought I looked like the Bumbleys, which were like caricatures, a bit like the Simpsons. And it was Michael Benteen, who was one of the original goons, who he invented the Bumbleys, and of course it's one of them nicknames that stuck. But at school I was always Sel, just SEL. My nickname was Sel. And that was after a Home Secretary of the government called Selwyn Lloyd. And so my nickname throughout school was Sel.
Now, I played a little bit of baseball and American football in high school, and I can definitely tell you that the locker room is the place where you get your nicknames at, and it's never going to be a good one. They never call you champ or anything like that.
As I said, it is the greatest of places. I really miss that. But they can be so cruel. Your teammates can be so cruel.
That's funny. I went and watched a cricket match here. This is by the by. Went and watched a cricket match here last weekend in Phoenix, and we were sat right next to one of the teams, the Arizona Vipers, and I overheard some of that banter that they have. And you're right, I've forgotten just how vicious it can be at times.
Yeah, it is. It's vicious, and you've got to survive it. You've got to understand that it's the majority of it is just affection.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Without a doubt. There's nothing mean in it. It was just you've got to have your wits about you.
Yeah.
Do it if they didn't like you.
Exactly. So you're a keen football player, and you're a pretty okay cricket player, I guess, as well. You know. I could tell you I were okay at cricket. I did okay. I was very committed, but like I said right at the beginning, and it's still tonight. I've come home from the pub tonight, and I've just got myself ready. I'm waiting for my wife to come home, and we will watch Sheffield Wednesday and Man City on the telly. So I'll watch that. Last night I was listening on the radio to York City versus Hereford, and so every night it's football. That's it, just football.
I think that we're with you here because we have a thing called the 100 Game Challenge that we do where we have our listeners will write in to us, and they'll say, we're going to watch 100 games this month, and they'll pick, be April, and then they'll send in a list of 100 football games that they've watched from around the world during the month. It's something we do called the 100 Game Challenge. Well,
I can understand that because I've lost count of the matches that I've watched this week and listened. Sometimes I listen on the radio if it's not on the telly, and so I can watch a Premier League match. I can go just down the road to Stockport. My wife is a season ticket holder at York City, so we go and watch them. I've been to Salford City. I've been to FC United. And so, I'll go and watch. If you ask me, I'd rather watch lower league football than sort of top-notch football, Premier League. Although saying that, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, I went to Man City, which is only 8 miles down the road. What an experience. It was a fantastic day out at Manchester City. They played Crystal Palace.
You're really speaking to the choir here in terms of lower league football being the best, and that's what I really get excited about when I look at a map of England, is for here in Phoenix, we have one team, which is Phoenix Rising, and I have to drive 25 miles just to get there. Hey, if I lived in Accrington and drove 25 miles, I'd pass 8 different stadiums.
Yeah, you would easily. You'd pass more than that. You'd get more whichever way you went. And so the other thing, interesting from the Accrington viewpoint, is that back in the day, in the 50s and 60s, there were no motorways. But now, with a motorway network, you can be at Liverpool, Everton, Man City, Man United. You can be there within half an hour, 40 minutes. And it's important. My view is that it's not the right thing to say that I am stuck with it, but I am from Accrington, so therefore that is my team. That's it. There's no other.
Other team you'd want to root for anyway? I mean, we're from Phoenix, and Accrington's our team.
Well, I'll do that, but I must admit that I always look for. I was Blackburn gone on, I was Burnley gone on, and so you've got me on this program, and I'm telling you, I am a football freak. I just like football. I love playing football. I'm 72 now. I wish I could still play. I dream about playing, and I had a nice left foot. I had a nice little left foot going for me. But I always wanted to be a footballer, but cricket took over.
So when you were at Peel Park, David, Peel Park, and incidentally I went to that school, it was a great school as well. Was there any inclination that you could go down the football path rather than cricket? Because I know you excelled at both, didn't you? Yeah,
I was, one of the best players in the town, if you like, at that time, which carried through to under 15s level. But then I was very small. I was just a little guy. And when I got to 15, 16, I was getting knocked about a bit. But when Stanley went out the league and they played in the Lancashire combination, it would be straightforward that I would go and play because I was one of the best players in the town. But I got kicked around. Crikey. You're talking about, early 60s and people coming in from behind and knocking you sideways. And I'm just a 16, 17-year-old kid, and I'm playing up front against men. I got a bit of a battering.
So was there ever a problem with, once you did become a professional cricketer, because you were still playing at a decent level, weren't you, around the Lancashire combination, etc.? Was there ever a problem with Lancashire releasing you to play football?
Yeah, definitely.
Knowing you were playing football.
I had a summer contract, and they didn't like you playing what I would call competitive football. You could play recreational because they've got the contract and there's a risk of injury. And what I did from time to time, if we got through to semi-finals and stuff like that, I played under an assumed name. I was always called Ramsbottom. I didn't use my proper name.
Right. So you didn't pay your dues, then you just faked it.
And so somebody, and you got to lie through your teeth, and you didn't play. No, I didn't play. No, I wasn't playing, and I was.
Right, you did answer a question that we had on the wires here. I think if we can still use that term, I don't know. That probably dates me, doesn't it? It comes from Chris Hockman. Do you think the young breed of young football players could benefit from a few summers rolling the arm over, or are those days past? I think that probably was never really a thing, was it?
Well, back in the day, you had dual internationals. You had football internationals and cricket internationals. That's never going to happen again. It was a great era to be involved in as a footballer cricketer, but you've got to remember at that time they weren't paid very much either. Either footballers or cricketers weren't paid very much, but now the cricket profession is that they're paid pretty well, and cricket is year round. It used to be just in the summer months, but now cricket is all the year round. What I would say, if you're a young kid, if you're a family and you've got a young child, boy or girl, let them play every sport going. Don't isolate them into one sport. Let them play lots and lots of sports, athletics, get them outside, and they'll become a better person.
Oh, here. Well said, David.
You make friends, and your friends are there for life. I go up Accrington Stanley and nobody bothers about me. I could just wander around and nobody bothers. If I go in London, I get stopped everywhere. Can I have a selfie? Come on, I'll have a picture. But in Accrington,
Nobody gives a toss.
We bring you down to earth, David, don't we, when you come back into town? So just right now we're on to Accrington Stanley. So what we really come on to talk about now, Phil wants to talk about the Andy Holt success story that we've had for the last few years, but I just want to go back about 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So when I noticed you first started getting involved with the club, you got drafted in for fundraising initiatives, didn't you? When we were in a really bad way. How were you approached about that?
Probably through Ilyas Khan, who was a previous owner, and I got involved then. Unbeknown to me, I was made a director. I didn't know much about that, but then they talk about through thin and thick, or we were going through thin and thinner and transparent. I had to. We all had to pay for things. I always remember Mark Turner rung me up, and this is pre-season. And he said, "We've got a bit of a problem. We haven't got any CCTV, and we're not allowed to play unless we've got any. And the match is on Saturday, and so I had to stop up and pay for CCTV.
Wow.
Else we wouldn't have got on. So, that is the Accrington story. To the club is the motto is the club that wouldn't die. But if you're of a certain age, you know what we've gone through since 1962 to get where we are now. And talk about living the dream. And we will mention Andy Holt. He has been unbelievable. But John Coleman and Jimmy Bell are the heart and soul of Accrington Football Club. Accrington Stanley is John Coleman and Jimmy Bell. It's as simple as that.
I almost like to say, and this is something I've said to a number of players on the podcast, is that there's almost like a BC and an AD of Accrington Stanley, except BC is before Coleman, and then everything after Coleman is the new age that we're having now.
After darkness or something.
I mean, going back to Jimmy Inksman and to Don Bramley, Eric Worley, an absolute gem, Eric. I played cricket and football against Eric, a complete and utter one-off, a brilliant, brilliant bloke. Who, I mean, Eric called a spade a shovel, but he had this dream, and, he spent a lifetime building Accrington Stanley. And so, what we've got right now with Andy Holt, who's a very successful local businessman, and I'd stress that, local businessman, employing over 200 people, exporting to 65 countries. He is an absolute whiz kid on numbers, and you cannot go into the red. You've got to live within your means. And so Darren will understand that at Accrington Stanley, we know exactly who we are and where we are.
Yeah. And also, just on that note, I mean, you've touched on big characters like Eric and Andy. Ilyas Khan played a pivotal role, didn't he, David? I mean, sometimes overlooked, really.
Ilyas Khan, sort of resurrected the club for a period. He was also very kind to Accrington Cricket Club. And it was all to do with his mother, Sonia. And there was a stand at that stage, the Sonia Khan stand. But it's like many things, like a golf club. If you build a new golf club, you're not going to make any money. It's the owner 2 ways down that will stabilise the club, and that's what's happened with Accrington Stanley. So it was Ilyas Khan, it was Peter Marsden, and then we got this gem of a bloke, Andy Holt, who has really rolled his sleeves up and got things done. And I turn up at the ground now quite regularly, and I'm filled with pride. It's something to be proud of, and it's a great day out. Let me tell you, get into that fan zone, and there's a couple of bands playing. You can have a pint. You just know everybody knows everybody. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and the prices are affordable for everybody. Well, he hasn't put a foot wrong, really, has he, Andy Holt, since he came into the club, really.
The thing is, he's honest. Yeah. It's a 6-letter word. He's honest. That's it.
You know where you stand with him. That's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And he's become a good mate. And I have
lots and lots and lots of conversation with him, very private, about all sorts of things. But he has got a dream, he's got a vision, but I come back to he knows exactly who we are and where we are.
You know, I'm going to chip in here with a question, if you don't mind. All right, I think it sort of flows on from that. So, you know, from an on-field standpoint, would you say that today's Stanley is the most talented roster you've seen? Or do you think there's probably past teams that might have been stronger?
I think, you know, in League One, we are holding our own. And I'm so biased. I think we've been unbelievably unlucky in matches that I've seen. We've battered them and come on the wrong side. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we are living the dream. We're in League One. And if things had gone for us, we would have been in them playoff places to go into the championship on a budget which is the lowest in probably in the four leagues, one of the very lowest. And so the manager and the assistant manager are doing a great job. From what I've seen over the years, it's a good squad. It's a very good squad, but we will improve this squad. I'm telling you now, we will improve this squad.
Do you think that the championship is a good aspiration for Stanley?
It is, but within our means.
Okay.
It is.
Right.
I mean, everybody's got ambition. You don't play. These boys who are playing football now wouldn't be doing it unless they had ambition. And your ambition is to get better. To get better, you get into the championship. But we will live within our means. We're not going to stump the club or bankroll the club or bankrupt it. We're just not going to do that. And Andy Holt would never allow that to happen. And John and Jimmy, the manager and assistant manager, know that that's the case. And if we get a crackerjack player, we're giving him the opportunity to better himself, and we will sell him. We'll move on, and we'll find another young kid. That's how it is.
And one of the things that Andy talks about so often is the teams that mortgage the stadium, if you will, to try and buy players, and that just never works. And I am so glad that Accrington will never be a team that does that, and it sounds like you agree with that.
Well, there's going to be, I can tell you, there will be an avalanche of teams that go out of business. There will, because it's unsustainable. You cannot sustain that level of debt. And we, through Andy Holt, would never go that way. We can't. You know, our gate is, if we get 3,000 people in, we're absolutely cock-a-hoop. And so in League One, when we're bringing Rotherham United and Sunderland and Fleetwood and Bolton, you know, that's good money for us. It really is, because, you know, we're just a small town. I think the whole town is, the borough of Hyndburn is about 40,000 people. Wow. So to get 2,000 on a Saturday is about right.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I tell people over here, buy an Accrington shirt, send £40 back to Accrington, don't send £100 to some Premier League team. You can get the same Adidas shirt for £40 from Accrington, the same one that the players wear on the pitch, and you'll be helping a team there that actually needs some money.
Yeah, and we are a community club, very much so. And a community needs a football club, and we need the community. It's a two-way thing. And so in every job that I've done within sport, if you're going and paying 20 quid to be entertained, we have to entertain you. And that entertainment will be before the game, during the game, and after the game. It's got to be an afternoon's experience. I want to come away from that having had a great experience. And of course, I want my team to win. They don't always win. That's sport. That's how it is. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, one thing you can guarantee, David, teams under John Coleman, they certainly leave everything on the pitch, don't they? I mean, you can never criticise them for effort. I can't anyway.
No, absolutely. And, you know, I'm one of these that I watch them, and these young lads, they're trying and aspiring to be better. And if you work hard, we will make you better, and you'll move on to better things. That's the sort of club we are. You know, the job, I've got to tell you, the job that I do, I go all over the world. And so I talk football anywhere I go. And then, I'm like 12,000 miles away. And somebody said, oh, I support Tottenham Hotspur. I support Man United. I said, have you ever been to Manchester? No. Why do you not support West Bromwich Albion? Why do you not support Nottingham Forest?
Right.
Because the glory hunters. That's what they are, the glory hunters.
I love that. I love that.
we actually we got a question from Tony Robinson, who's one of our colleagues.
I know Tony.
He's an Accringtonian. Yeah, Accringtonian who resides in Canada.
Yeah, we actually dug up a YouTube video of you talking to Tony in 2012, I think it was.
And one question from Tony was, do you get asked about Stanley in other parts of the world when you're on your tours with cricket, etc.?
I wish I had £1. If I had £1 for every time people have said to me, where you're from, and I'll say I'm from Accrington. The next two words are Accrington Stanley. If I had £1 for every time that had happened, I'd buy the club off Andy Holt.
So now, by many, you're considered the world ambassador for Accrington Stanley, and in fact, you were recently recognized by the club with a Lifetime Achievement Award. And I kind of explained it to some of my American friends that you are to Accrington Stanley what Jack Nicholson is to the Los Angeles Lakers. Would you say that's a good comparison?
Well, I'm not. There's better folk than me up at Accrington Stanley. I'm just a punter. And I pay me 190 quid, but I was late this year, so I had to pay 220 for my season ticket. But I don't go in the prawn sandwich bit. I go behind the goals. That's where I stand, behind the goals.
Prawn sandwiches, just so you know.
South End.
The prawn sandwiches reference goes back to Roy Keane. I think it was.
He is brilliant. We got Roy Keane on telly here. He is box office, absolute box office.
Yeah, so that's for those who pay for their seats and don't do much other than watch the game and not really participate. I think is where you're going with that.
Well, he said the other night it was Everton United, and he just said this goalkeeper's no good. He was the England goalie.
I think it would be a good time for another listener question. And now this is a pretty serious one here. I mean, this might cause some pretty heated debate up here in Lancashire. But Michael Shackleton from Twitter has thought long and hard and has this thought-provoking question. Red or brown sauce on your bacon buddy?
Brown, absolutely, every time brown. Young Shackleton, I can tell you, I've just come back from the supermarket, a dozen sausage, and that's brown sauce as well.
Excellent.
And then mushy peas or not mushy peas?
Definitely mushy peas. Tomorrow I'm going to up North Yorkshire tomorrow, and on Friday I'll be in Whitby, and I shall have fish chips and mushy peas.
Fantastic. What do they call that up there? A chippy tea? Is that what it is?
Yeah, chippy tea. No, tea, bread and butter. You can't go wrong.
Fantastic.
So David, we do like to cover some other clubs as well while we're on here, and not just, even though we're Stanley orientated. And one club where you've also been visiting recently is York City in the last few years. So just tell us a bit about your time watching York and how that's developed.
Well, my wife Diana is from York, and she's a season ticket holder. So, I go along with her. We'll go along. And last night they played Hereford at home and got beat. They got absolutely spanned 4-1. They were shocking last night. And so she didn't speak to me all morning. And she's not come home from work yet. It's 20 to 8 here local time. And so I'm just expecting her coming in. But we go and watch York City from time to time, and they play in the National League North. And they've just signed Adam Buxton, who was a Stanley player a few years ago, and he's just signed on loan from Morecambe. Right. And he doesn't know what he's let himself in for.
No, he's a decent player, Adam.
He was. He's only 27 years of age, and we couldn't hold on to him, but he finished up at Morecambe, and now he's He's at York City in the National League North.
I'm going to be using Spannard from here on in. I think that was a great term.
Yeah.
Hey, I noticed at York they've got a brewery called it's just gone out of my head. Brew York, which I like the little pun there. That's good. They've got a beer out called Minsterman Pride. Have you taken a try of that yet?
No, it's probably from the Jorvik Brewery. We've got plenty of satellite breweries up there, and that's probably from York Brewery. Jorvik, it's called, Jorvik. So it's an old Viking name. Okay. And so we've got loads of little satellite breweries, as you have everywhere. They're brilliant. A real renaissance of craft beers, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind myself a craft beer or two. Now, you are known as a bit of a beer man, aren't you? You've got your book out, which is Around the World in 80 Pints, which I think is probably not enough pint for me, at least anyway, if I was traveling around the world. What's one of your
favorites? Better be a fast airplane getting around the world then, honey.
That's David Boone.
Well, I can only manage 2 pints. After 2 pints, I'm anybody's. So I can only manage 2. I've been down the pub tonight with my mates. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us sit together. And one's the local handyman, another he delivers car parts. He's a mate of mine, Paul. You'll love this. He's got 2 hearing aids, 1 tooth, and 1 thumb. And he's a reformed heroin addict, and he's the salt of the earth. And I've given him a watch tonight. I found a watch in a drawer, and so I've given him that. And he thinks it's a Breitling, but it's one of them that I got from India, and it's a fake.
So it's a little bit different crowd than what you mix with when you're in London, in Lords, then, David.
But now these are my mates here. There's little Al from Liverpool. There's Paul with 2 deaf ears, 1 tooth and 1 thumb. And I've got to tell you this. He said I've got toothache, which is an event in itself because he's only got 1 tooth. He said I'm going to have my tooth out. I'm going to have it out. I said, all right. I said, then you'll have to have a new set of teeth. He said, no, I'll borrow my mother's.
Oh, yeah.
Now, one of the thing that we wanted to talk with you about is the biggest story to me of all at Wham Stadium is all the changes to the infrastructure. You, of course, mentioned the fan zone earlier, where we should mention there is a very nice sign there that Darren can tell you about. But beyond that, I mean, they put in the brand new pitch, which is just fantastic. The new drainage system. You see just a fresh coat of paint going on everywhere. There's they have the memorial garden. What is it like? I mean, I know what it's like for me watching on TV and just seeing that difference from last year, but what is it like being someone that goes there week to week and just seeing the stadium bloom into a rose, if you will?
Well, it makes you very proud because there's many of us can remember when it was just a scratching shed. There was nothing there but new stands, new investment, new pitch, and he's not finished yet. Tarmac driveways, tarmac car park, the fan zone, as you've mentioned. And Andy will make sure that this is an intimate little stadium that people can be proud of.
Rightly so, yeah. It's every time you go to the ground, there's something new, something new, some steps, etc. Something going on all the time, and it's fantastic to see. Really is. When you think, for many years it absolutely dilapidated, and to be quite blunt, at times it was an embarrassment, really, for the level of football we were playing at. And now, like you say, it's a smart facility just for that level of football. It's ideal.
Yeah, we'll get new changing rooms and new offices and so on. It'll be great.
I'm really looking forward to
the training ground is kind of the next frontier also.
Yes, the Stanley Hub or the Community Trust Hub. That will be another piece in the jigsaw. So what we're saying is that this is walk before you can run. There's development all the time. It's not something that we can do instantly. It'll be a plan, and the plan will be implemented over a number of years.
And speaking of development, the Accrington Stanley Academy team was actually recently over here in Arizona, and I'm still upset that I didn't find out until after they left. But one of the things that Peter Latham, who of course is the head of the supporters club, has been telling me is how much the development teams and the under 21 teams are growing, and the whole developmental system within Accrington is becoming more and more where 10 years down the road we're going to have more players that are making the first team club that actually started their career and came up all the way through Accrington.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer because that's where we are. That's what we'll need to do to develop our own players. And of course, the big shots, the Premier League clubs, will hoover up all the best players. Well, we've got to be at the forefront of local talent and to develop that talent. And again, I hope this doesn't sound right, but if we develop a player, we can sell that player. The player benefits, he gets better,
right.
He gets, he can move on up the scale to Championship and Premier League, and we will benefit as a club financially.
Well, absolutely, because if you look at the history of Stanley, a lot of the big advancements have come when a major player like a Brett Ormerod was sold off, or Caden Jackson was another guy that brought good money and stability to the club.
Yeah. Well, when Donassi and Jackson went to Ipswich, they bid a pittance, they bid threepence, and Andy Holt just said absolutely not. And they paid good money for him in the end. We got a good wedge for that.
Jackson was the most money that Stanley has ever gotten from a player, and now he comes back and puts about 2 goals in every time we play against him. But that was a big part, I think, of what's allowed them to sign some of the players that fill out the team today. And would you say that as somebody that has been watching for a long time, would you say that the current club roster is the most talented Stanley team that you've seen so far?
Well, I thought we were at a peak when we had Caden Jackson and Billy Key up top. When they were up top, I thought we were really potent. We looked like scoring any time. We have, some well-established players like Seamus Keneally and Sean McConville, who's injured at the minute. Mark Hughes is a tower at centre half, but Joe Bursick is as good a goalkeeper as we've had. I think that both fullbacks are excellent, the fullbacks that we've got right now.
Unfortunately, Hughes is out now too.
We will develop the squad, but we can only develop the squad when we get the money. We won't do it outside of the finances that we've got.
Are you concerned that guys like Ross Sykes and Callum Johnson and Jordan Clark, that are kind of our core, might be moving up a tier? Do you think that Stanley's going to have to rebuild the whole roster next season?
Yeah, we will, but that's what we do. I think we're primed for that. We're ready for that. And I know that Jordan Clark's out of contract, and so that will be probably one that we lose. But he's given really good service to us, and he will probably better himself. Callum Johnson is a proper player. Ross Sykes also is an academy lad, so we might do well out of Ross. But Ross would better himself as well, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, Ross Sykes is a guy who has really emerged as one of the very best center backs in the league this year. I see that he was second in the league in interceptions at a new stat that came out yesterday. And he's, of course, with his size, he's a guy that can really hit the ball out of the box. I think he saves us about 2 goals a game. I almost wanted to start like a Ross Sykes goals saved count on Twitter.
Well, he's done terrifically well, and that, we get back to one of the previous questions, when if we develop the player through the academy and a local guy gets into the team and holds his place in the team, he's going to better himself. His experience that he's getting is terrific. And so, there will come a time when he would say, "Thank you, Accrington Stanley. You've been terrific for me."
Guys, sorry to have to cut you off here. I'm going to have to sign off. David, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Great chat and some wonderful stories. I hope we can actually meet up and have one of those 2 beers one day, mate.
But yeah, we'll do that. And I'm the same because my better half has just walked in, the York City supporter. So I'm going to have to go as well, if that's okay.
Well, that's fantastic. We really appreciate all of the time that you've taken with us today. And thank you again so much for coming on the show, Dave.
Yeah, great to chat to you, Dave.
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks ever so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Cheers.
Cheers, lads.
On Stanley on. Sponsored by Shirts and Giggles, direct-to-garment printing. Direct-to-garment is the future of t-shirts. We design t-shirts, sweatshirts, and hoodies custom-made to order with vivid detail. Find us on Amazon.com or Facebook at T-Shirts and Giggles.